that you gain after speaking affirmations over yourself. The more you hear it, the more you believe that it's true.
And welcome to Premier Fitness. I'm Gene Williams, your yoga instructor, and I'm here to tell you about the benefits of yoga.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining our show. You have just tuned in to Where is the Love? I am your host. I am Stephanie Hockenhall. Joining me is my son, our co-host, Gene Williams.
How?
How
Ohio.
to?
Ohio.
What's up, son?
What's good, Ma? You ready to rock and roll? We got a great one.
We do. We have a fun guest coming at you. Last week we spoke to Gary Newsom, Coach G.
Coach G.
Yeah. So today we are speaking with Evie Bolin. So you can join us on Facebook. I don't know where you're watching us from, but you can also go to our YouTube channel, Love Misunderstood Institute, Premier Fitness, YouTube channel, Premier Fitness 0210. You can also watch us on Facebook on Love Misunderstood Institute or on my personal page, Stephanie Terrell Hockenhall. So joining us today, what am I thinking? You can join us on Roku. Watch us on TV. If you don't want to join in on the conversation, go to your Roku channel or your Amazon Fire channel and search PODTV space LIVE and watch us right now on TV. Yes, we are live on TV. So come on in, Evie.
Come on in the room. Come on in the room.
Mark, where's Evie?
She's down by the riverside.
Mark must have got lost. Well, while we're waiting for Evie, we have a great show for you today. We have already been talking about our conversation today. There she is.
Hey.
So we have already been having a conversation about bullying, about church bullying, a subject that, I spoke about church bullying yesterday at a revival, and I said, this is a subject that a lot of people don't like to talk about, bullying. And then when I say something about bullying in church, people don't bully in a church. That's the response I get. And I'm like, oh, Lord, they don't have a clue.
Right.
So yesterday I shared some of the stories, just a few of the stories where there was bullying going on. And then I told the type of bullying that was going on in that story. So Evie, tell us about yourself. Tell us about Evie.
I know for a fact there is church bullying. I can tell you that. It don't matter your denomination. I promise you that. It's a national problem.
Exactly.
I am Evie Bolin. I work with substance abuse and mental health, the community, and I also work with foster care communities. So I work with the adults and the kids. I work with trauma. I'm a life coach. I'm also working on my therapy license. So I also am a speaker. I speak with AYPN and BTBY. And so I just wanted to come on here because I just love what you guys are doing and what your purpose is. And I just want to be a part of something great. So here we go.
Thank you. We are happy to have you here. And I mean, for you to be doing all that you have done, how did you get into the positions, the job positions that you're doing? How did that come about?
I actually was in the medical field. I'm a nationally registered certified medical assistant. So I did both endocrinology and cardiology, and I loved it. But I've always been a listener. I've always been, somebody said you've been called mom long before you were somebody's mama. So people have always talked to me and kind of just, I don't know, I got the face that says, tell me your whole life. And I might have a word, I don't know. But God has always brought people to me. And for years I ran from it because taking on the weight of somebody's stuff is a choice. You know, it's not something you take lightly either. So I ran from it, but God kept putting me in situations where it was required. And so you cannot tell God you're not going to use your mouth.
Right.
The way that he wants you to. And so sometimes, you know, I have been blessed enough to where God will put things on my heart or put people on my heart. And if I don't reach out to them, he put them on my neck and then he put them on my head. And then I go on ahead and reach out to them because I want it. I wanted to not be there. And when I started learning, studying Reiki a couple of years ago, so I'm a level 2. I understood it. Yeah, I understood that the mental health, which is required, and we don't have a chance to say to anyone, you don't need to get help. So the mental health portion of it, and then the spiritual portion of it, and then the physical portion of it, and then the mental goes along with the physical. There's nothing that doesn't go together. And so when you start to remember that it is a whole person, not a person with holes in them, you start to realize that every step of it has to be a part of something. And so when you know that you're a part of something bigger, you start to get into that mindset of, okay, well, whatever purpose I have in this, wherever room you put me in, Lord, you put me here for a reason. Let me do what I'm supposed to do and then come out of that room. It was right around the beginning of COVID when I started to decide that I wanted to go ahead and lean in on what God called me to do and what my purpose was. And a friend of mine dragged me to an event she was speaking at, and she was like, oh, and the lady, which was Izzy, had come down, and she was like, my sister was like, oh, just so you know, she's going to speak next month. Who's going to speak next month? What are you talking about? And so I said, okay, well, I'll do it for you. And I have done it every time they've called on me for the last couple of years. And now we're doing workshops and things like that. So that's where that went. And then I, at that time, had already transitioned into doing substance abuse and mental health, inpatient and outpatient, and listening to their stories and their stuff, the weight that somebody carries as a vet or as a person in substance or a person who is trauma bonded to the life they're living. And let me say that again, trauma bonded to the life they're living, not that they want that life. Okay. I don't think there's anybody who will say to you, oh no, I wake up every morning and I need the needle because that's what I wanted for my life. That's not what they wanted for their lives. It is a trauma bond to the life they had built. And so when you start to recognize that, you start realizing, wait a minute, now tell me about the person behind the bond, behind the story, behind the suffering, behind the trauma, behind the hurt. And then you find a kid, right? Because now I've stripped back enough onion layers on you that now I see the child that was left behind. And since you were so busy trying to be the child that tried to heal without the right equipment to be the adult you needed as a kid, and now that you're adult, and since you can't be the one you need as the kid, you suffer in being the one that you're trauma bonded to.
Wow.
So what happened? And when I started listening to more of the stories, they were foster children. They were latchkey kids. They were kids whose parent, because the shift, what happened in the world, it didn't just shift. The 70s didn't just happen to us. They were happening to us. Yeah. The 60s were happening to us. And so, yes, it looks great when they do the, Black History Month and all the different months, and we see all the struggles. There was mental attacks in them struggles that they had to put a smile on their face and act like they were okay. The same things that we're doing now as a people, when it's okay for someone to go off on a cop, as long as their color shade is right. But the second that I am me doing it, now I'm color shaded right into guilt. So the problem is that we have years, generations of mental shrinkage, physical shrinkage, emotional shrinkage. And then you tell us to go and be productive
Great.
citizens in
Right.
America that is not productively built for us.
Yeah.
And it's not a race thing. It's not a race thing. It is honestly not built for us. And I mean us as in those who are trauma bonded to a state, a mindset, a law that is not even for us. It is a trauma bond that we are trauma bonded to this America. That's not even real.
Right.
Wow.
So we've been bullied into being who they said we were. And I
Yeah.
am in the business of finding out who you really are.
Beautiful.
Mark said they tell us to stop being the victims, like we choose that.
Exactly.
Right.
You
Right.
know, they tell a woman when she comes into the ER, well, how were you dressed? I mean, did you give any indication that maybe you were okay with it? I don't know any woman that's ever said, well, you know what? I was leaving the house today and I decided, you know what? Let me dress real rapey today. I'm not my hair done so I could dress real rapey. Nobody does that, nor does it any males out there that come out and say, so I'm going to have my arms out and I'm going to have my muscles. And so does that mean automatically I'm supposed to look at Gene like he's a pork chop? That's the decision, is that he becomes now a visual of what I want. So instead of me seeing him as who he is, his name is irrelevant as long as he can fit the mold.
Yeah.
What will look good next to me to make me feel better about me. And I've already held him to a standard that he can't do because I don't know his name. I just know what he can do for me.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's no different than a lot of these young ladies out here now. They're given a whole list of what they won't do on the first date. And the funny part is there's a whole lot of restaurants you won't go to, a whole lot of money that you won't spend, but nobody said you wouldn't swallow on that first date.
Yeah.
No, that ain't you. We're not putting that on the first date. You're putting it out as long as he can pay for it. So what you just said is I am contracted in this situation to give you a donation at the end of my meal.
Wow.
I don't understand why we're okay with that.
Right.
So when I went from doing substance abuse inpatient and outpatient as the case manager and then working with them and teaching classes as the counselor, I then started to realize that over and over again, I kept hearing foster care. I kept hearing hurt. I kept hearing where it came from. I kept hearing children whose parents are generational drug addicts, generational abusers, generational. And I started looking, it's time to go back to get them kids. So I chose to go into foster care and start doing that. And a lot of those kids, a lot of those adults say that are coming out of rehab or coming out of their generational curse, if anybody would have heard me when I was 10, when I was 8, when I said my uncle kept coming in my room, when I said that my dad was drinking 24 hours a day, when I said that the reason why I was failing my class is because I can't sleep because I have to worry about my dad beating up on my mom or my mom beating up on my dad, because apparently they believe that doesn't happen either.
Right.
And so when we sit and we do that to these children, I silence you your whole childhood. And then as an adult, I tell you, you should be able to stand up for yourself.
That's bad.
That part.
And so I decided that God, in this moment, God has told me I got to go be the voice for those who have been silenced. And so now I speak for those who can't speak for themselves.
Oh, that's awesome. Girl.
Yeah.
Woo. That's loaded. Thanks be to God for people like you that choose to help other people and choose to see what's really going on.
Yes.
And choose to what's the word, attack it. Let's get these people some help, because there's it's not just what you see, but there's something deeper going on.
Absolutely. And the drug crisis has not get any better, and 90% of the drug crisis started with a prescription, but we don't want to talk about that either.
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't want to talk about that either. We don't want to talk about that the opioid crisis started with a prescription pad. You wouldn't have been able to get it no other way.
Yeah.
And then it became a crisis because you broke your ankle as a teenager, and now you're in your 20s, and the only thing that ever gives you relief because the surgery didn't work all the way and you never got to play again, and now you're depressed and everything. We don't talk about that. We just say that it's terrible that he is on opioids and fentanyl. And now we have the new crisis, which is Tranq, which is a horse tranquilizer mixed with fentanyl. And we are literally turning ourselves into zombies. In Philadelphia, they have a whole street that is tricked out on Tranq. And there's news people that will come. And one gentleman on one of the interviews, he said, the police just come to pick up the bodies. They don't really come to stop. and the streets are littered with needles and everywhere. But it's okay, because it's just the forgotten that's dying. It's not the remembering.
Mm-hmm.
And so we list someone's value on what they can give us as a country. If you are a serviceman, you're great. But if you get high on the stuff that they gave you to keep you awake so that you can do, I mean, come on, man.
Right.
It's
Right.
okay.
Right.
But then we drop you back off in America and we tell you to go be great.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same story you told me when I went.
Right.
And now our streets are littered with veterans that are being spit on and yelled at. And yet, come November 11th, they're revered. It's the one day a year they can be great. So it's like Santa Claus. It's the one day a year anybody remembers you. And yet we talk about Christmas for 4 months prior to.
Mm-hmm.
But how many commercials do you see promoting Jesus? It's his birthday anyway, right?
Right.
I'm just saying. We don't worry about that part. We just worry about what's beneficial and commercialized.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we can promote death, death is beneficial. Death has a cost. I got to bury you. I got to put you through the hospital. I got to maneuver. And as long as you die, then I got to charge your family for your death and everything else.
Right.
I mean, there's more GoFundMe's for people dead than it is for folks alive. We
Right.
could have saved them when they were still
Say that. Say
Yeah.
that.
Mark said a few things here. He said when you were talking about the ladies earlier, he said whole list of what they want when you were talking about going to dinner. I want that car, that house, or that job.
Right. Right.
And then he said, we shout about we don't want those abortions, but what are you doing for the kids that are here for 18 years?
Right. Absolutely. I have met more people. Yeah, I've met more people in this journey of foster care and in this journey of speaking and things like that, that were 5-10 years in the system. That means 5-10 years of payment. I mean, come on, foster care money is just as lucrative as prisons.
Yeah.
What's the difference? It's a children's
pretty much the same cost.
I mean, it's the same cost. It's food, it's shelter, it's all these things. And don't get me wrong, I'm also a foster parent in the state of Missouri. I adopted my oldest granddaughter. So when I say I actually walk through it, when I go to these families' homes, I've been where you are. I've sat in your room. I've had them come in my house 3 times a month. CASA coming in and check on the baby, the guardian ad litem sending their people, the caseworker coming in. I've had them, and I had to prove myself as a worthy person for you to place this child. But the parent never had to prove that they would. I had to jump through more hoops to prove I was a parent who already raised my kids, to turn around and have to be the one proving that I could raise somebody else's.
Wow.
And yet, but you're willing to allow this child. If I don't take this child, they'll be in the system till they age out. And when they age out, then we put them in the next step down, which is just independent living. But in the process of that, how are we making sure they could do that? How could they live? Did we get them fortified and ready to be on their own? Do they know how to make a budget? I had more people when I was doing substance abuse and mental health inpatient that couldn't even read, let alone trying to write their bills out, let alone and this is your 4th and 5th time. Well, no wonder. I would relapse too if the way the world was on my shoulders every time I walked out this door. And then you told me I should be capable when I'm done.
I've met some that, when they aged out, they didn't have anywhere to go.
No.
So they ended up homeless. So to know that they ended up homeless and that they couldn't read or, do anything, to elevate in life or to be able to deal with life,
right,
as it really is, that's horrible.
It is.
I mean, I don't even know how to take care of myself. I wasn't taught that.
Right. But you're supposed to be capable. So then what happens in your head? What ends up happening, or what I've been given information on talking to these people, one, you talk to them like a person where you may be the first one that ever did. Right? Because you've been a number in the system. You've been a kid in the system. Now you're grown. So now you're an adult, but now we got to keep tabs on you. Isn't that not the same thing that happens when our prisoners get out of jail? We have to keep tabs on you. Now you got to talk to us. Now you got to check in with us month to month. Let us know you're still doing all
Do a
right.
piss test every day, right?
Right. And then when you're not doing all right, we just send you right back down. You've been the same number.
Within the same cycle.
And it's a continuous dysfunctional cycle. And I'm not saying that the system is not broken, nor am I saying that it's not. What I'm saying is that we stop looking at people as people. How many times have people walked past homeless people and be like, nobody stopped to say that is somebody's grandfather, mother,
Right.
uncle, auntie, somebody. You ain't out here by yourself, are you? You belong to somebody. And then how did you get there? What was that final break that said, you know what? I can't. Some of those people are out there because they had a house fire. That's no control that they had of their own. Some people are out there because it got to be too hard during COVID. Our homelessness tripled, during COVID, tripled. In some states, quadrupled.
That's
and all we
crazy.
did was say they just didn't have it enough to hold on to their homes and lives. What do you mean? The whole world shut down.
Right.
And you
my
were supposed
God.
to hold on. And those of us that held on, some of us didn't. We didn't come out of COVID the same way we went in it. I didn't. I definitely didn't. But we don't say that. We don't say how many people. Suicide rates quadrupled because the weight of life itself was too hard. But we're shocked that you want to be high and pretend it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
How? Everybody can't deal with reality. And these reality TV shows have got people so confused on what reality is that at some point, I don't know how many seasons of Survivor it is, but I'm still trying to figure out how we survive.
Yeah.
I mean, Naked and Afraid, all these shows, but yet, okay, so where's credit and budget? Where's that reality show?
Yeah.
Where's the show that's going to teach us how to live and buy homes? Where is it that teaches us the next step? Why are we promoting college all the time when there's children that could do trade school? But then you get mad because now we're not industrial enough and China is beating us.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't say like this. Ass backwards. Ass backwards.
I'm just saying. America's great though. We number one. We number one.
Make America great.
No,
Okay.
America is bullies. We're bullies, and we have bullied people, and nobody's scared no more.
Yep.
and we're bullies. We're bullies that push people around, but when they do it back to us, we're the victims. But you started it.
Oh my God!
And
I
you
can't
making
believe
money
it
on
came for us.
and you making money on both sides of the equation.
Right. Talking about we about to go to war. Where? Who going?
I know. Me?
Be like Scooby Doo.
I promise y'all, I got something. The year I turned 40, I got an enlistment thing. I said, when they raise the age of 40, what I'm looking at, listen.
Right.
Now listen, when I told the Lord, send me, I'll go. Listen,
You wasn't talking about that.
Who are your word, Lord? Because hey.
Mark said America uses religion as part of the bullying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it depends on which religion is taking precedence at that time.
Yeah.
Right. Because at one point we were pushing the Catholic agenda. At one point we were pushing the Protestant agenda. And then we were pushing the Christian agenda. And then the Christian agenda got split into 18 different churches. We Kojics, we this is, we that, not dominant. At this point, I don't even ask people, you go to church? Ooh, do you know the Lord? Okay. I don't know her. I don't need. Well, I see you. Are you going to be up there with me or not? I'm going. I'm going to be the first one in time out, but I'm going. So I just want to know. I don't want to know because, come on, man. I have a Jehovah's Witness. They can't stand me when they knock on my door. They cannot stand it. I am a preacher's kid. I'm ready. You want some coffee? Come on here.
I've done that too.
Girl, you want some coffee? Look, we gonna be here, okay?
I don't offer them coffee, but I say I study the Bible too, and they say, "Well, can we talk?" Yeah, sure. Oh, this ain't the conversation you wanted. Don't knock on my door no more.
Can we talk? You better come on in with your Chevron Campbellette. Come on in here. Come on. We can talk, but I want you. Are you ready?
Right, exactly. Because I know some stuff.
Are you ready? You want to start in the back? You want some revelation?
Right. Are you want to go to the front? Or?
You want to
How
get
you
it in
want
the
to
bed?
do it?
All
Go ahead and
right.
pull out that concordance. Go ahead and pull out the concordance. Let's study the word.
I'm just
All
saying,
right, so
you
this
want to
word
start with
means
Jonah?
this.
You want to start with Jonah or Job? Which J we? I mean, I'm just
Well,
saying.
yeah.
Because I done been them both. I done been Jonah.
Right,
I done took off
right,
running. I'm just asking. It wasn't
man.
a whale, but I mean, he did swell up on me. I'm just saying. What you need?
Oh Lord.
All right. So on this subject, I want to bring it in now. That segued us
Mm,
into you being a preacher's kid. PK is what we used to call him.
Yes,
So
I'm a PK. I am.
tell us about that. What has been your experience as a preacher's kid?
So it is an expectation. I think as soon as people find out that you're a preacher's kid, everything you do is watched. It's like it's a she's a preacher's kid, but she must be one of the bad ones. You know, one of the ones that, you know,
Yes.
because if you do the math, my oldest daughter was out of wedlock. If you do the math, so was my second one, you know. And then when I was married and quote unquote following the rules, then I was okay and left alone. But my father is Kojic, and so there are a lot of requirements. Yes, in 2023, there are a lot of requirements in the Kojic sector. Women don't wear pants, they don't wear big earrings, they don't wear certain things, and so I was the one who would push the envelope. And so because I come from the mindset of, if it says in the book that I come as I are and who I am and who I woke up that morning, then the second I start to conform to what you say I'm supposed to come as, then am I not the same as the preachers in the synagogue? Like, you know, that, I mean, he broke the walls down for a reason. So I would be the rebellious one. I'd wear the pantsuits and the stilettos and the big hoop earrings, and I go get my Jesus the same way they showed up to get theirs.
Right.
well, say that.
So Mark said, which rules? The rules change from church to church.
True.
Like from minister to
Absolutely.
minister.
They do. And it's so
Mhm.
crazy because when my dad took over his church, they were very much so in the strict old rules. When my dad tried to change that, a lot of the old heads gave him pushback. And
Mhm.
eventually he
Mhm.
did step down. But you're right. Because my ex-husband, his father was also Kojic, and their church was quite different. And much smaller and much old traditional. And yet when I went to Colorado to my mother's church, it was still where the preacher would talk and hoop and holler. And it was the deacons that would pray over breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And he made,
Center.
you know, all the amens came. And
Right.
so I had that dynamics because I was able to grow up in different churches and grow up in different, literally under different covenants. And so I learned to be a Christian chameleon. And that was, it wasn't always a good thing because I was a Christian chameleon. At what point and what God did I know? You know, I used to tell jokes when I would talk to my clients in the, when I would talk to my clients and they were being in and they would say things like, well, Miss Evie, you know, were you in church and you were raised in church all your life and you always know Jesus? And I was like, I really didn't. You know, I used to make a joke. I've been baptized at least 20 times. I'm not quite sure what sins got taken in the water, but
Right.
you know, I mean, between 9 and 18, I was baptized every baptismal because I had to recommit. But I said, I've got enough water that I ought to be, you know, kind of like Cat Williams. He says, I can't, you know, legally get the flu. He done been he done got it every time he went to jail. I can't legally be no sinner. I might be, but I done been dipped enough. I ought to have some credit with Jesus. I'm just, you know, so and I think that those traditions come into such a big play. I had churches when going to Kojic churches where I didn't speak in tongues, and I don't have the gift of tongue. I don't knock anybody who does, but I did start to notice a lot of people's tongues seem to be the same thing every Sunday. And I just figured maybe Jesus didn't have much else to say. Like he was trying to say that one phrase and that one. He's coming in a Honda, and he's coming in a Honda. It was kind of, so. I mean, I don't know. I got concerned about people whose tongues never changed, but
Right.
but as far as people who have those different gifts, I don't knock that. I just feel like because we don't understand it, and that's with humanity, period. If we don't understand it, we have to villainize it.
Right.
Somehow
Exactly.
the Bible has been the most used weapon to villainize others than it has been to save them.
So, right. So Mark said he saw a church where, wait a minute, I wanted to get this one. Hard to figure out which tongues are real and which are dramatics.
Right.
And then he said, seemed dramatic to him. And then he said he saw a church where some guy ran around every week.
Right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right. I have. I've been in a church where we let the guy run, and you just and you'd be like, is he okay? But every Sunday he would run, and then and then they say, well, he's slaying the spirit. Okay.
Yeah.
So does he have the Jonah spirit? Because he's always running. I just have a few questions. I just wonder if I could just refer to my book and try to. What part does it say this happens? I don't. And so and we've done that in churches. We've done that as a whole. We've done it as a unit. We've done that as a race. We will take the most dramatic thing, and it must be ours, right? It must be ours. We have to be the bully first. And so sometimes we forget that I have no idea what Gene's experience is with the Lord unless I talk to him. I have no idea what Stephanie's experience is with the Lord unless I talk to them. Now, if I can take your story and we can talk about it, and then I'm coming back to you and we can use that, that's different. But if I am taking your story and I'm showing jealousy, or I'm showing unfairness towards you, because I was the one, I had to be adaptable. Right. And then my dad became a traveling pastor. So then I had to adapt to all these different churches he would go and travel to. Some would be Caucasian churches, and the same songs I heard in the African-American church, I'm sitting here like, that's not that beat. I don't know what that is. That's real slow. Is that supposed to be holy? No, never mind. And so but you've learned to be a Christian chameleon so that you don't anger anyone else. But the problem with that is that doesn't that put us in the same bondage that Pharaoh did? We just become a slave to the idea of Christianity instead of the idea of Christ-driven relationship.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness.
Preach, y'all.
Right. Exactly. It's it's
we're getting the word, y'all. We're getting the
word. Thank you, Gene, for saying that, because that made me think of how, in raising my kids, well, the way I was raised in church and the belief that I, was raised to believe. And then what I learned, as I raised my kids was something different. And it was in the same kind of church. So I grew up Church of God.
Okay.
And then the church that, I mostly raised them in was Church of God. I mean, we, were on the Air Force base at the, I think Protestant service. And, so that wasn't enough. So then we ended up going to Church of God. And the church, and it wasn't because Church of God is where I wanted to be. It was that I just drove one day because I said, I'm not going back to the base. I got to have more. I'm not getting enough spiritually. And so I just drove by this church, and it happened to be Church of God. And I just felt that was where we were supposed to be. So even though it was the same kind of church that I grew up in, Church of God, they served totally different. And so like where I was raised, they, there was one lady that spoke in tongues, and she always interpreted. The pastor did not like it because
Right.
he did not believe in that. Well, the
Mhm.
church that I raised the kids in, they spoke in tongues. And so, and there was always an interpretation. But the point that I'm making is that it doesn't matter, what you're raised to believe. What
Right.
I told my kids is that you have to read the Bible for yourself. If
Right.
somebody tells you that the Bible says this, and it was because of things that I heard, God said if you take one step, He'll take two, and
Right.
some other things that I heard that I never read in the Bible,
Right.
but that I just heard. I was like, don't believe everything you hear. If somebody says something's in the Bible, you look for yourself, you read it for yourself.
Yeah.
So that was just something that I taught them because of what I
Had
heard.
experience. Yeah. And I think that's something that we don't ever think about. There's a lot of sayings that have become gospel when they're not realistically. And let me say that. Let me correct myself. So I don't want nobody coming after y'all about the church. Hold on. There are sayings, and it's all right. They can come after me.
They come after me too. They don't want it though. I promise they don't.
There are sayings in the church that have become gospel word without gospel validation.
Yeah.
Say that.
So things like he'll never put more on us than we can bear. Where is it in Romans?
Right.
Is it in Proverbs?
Right.
Where is that saying? And so we have been saying that to our children, our women, our men in the church for so long. He'll never put more on you than you can bear. And what we've done is we've allowed people to stay in very unhealthy and traumatic situations because we said that Jesus said it's your suffering or your long suffering. And we have interpreted the Bible to where it is convenient for the time that it can be used as a prison sentence in a gospel stance.
Yeah.
And so if I put God on it, you can't fight me. You can't say anything. It's no different than, okay, I don't know if you guys ever saw this happen in church, but I grew up in a church where if a young lady got pregnant, she had to stand in front of the church, right? She got to get up. She got to say, I'm pregnant, and she got to apologize to the members of the church because she had sex and got pregnant. Now, what I don't understand is why only the woman had to get up there, because she didn't get pregnant on her own because Jesus didn't come back that way. So if that's the case, just saying, so I'm just, I mean, he didn't have multiple births. So clearly,
Right.
going along.
Now, one time.
Right, but we'll make her stand in front of the church, and we will ostracize her, put an A on her chest, and she is now the not only is she a victim, but she's also an aggressor. She's also a sinner. She's also labeled, and then we get mad at her when she don't want the kid that Okay, so we do that, and yet if a minister or a man in God in the house of God cheats on his wife, he may have to sit down for a few Sundays. He may not be able to sit in the pulpit with the other reverends, but he can get back up there. That little girl can't go back. And yet when the women cheat, they are ostracized. They can't, they can't teach Sunday school. They can't be participant because their punishment has to be seen and felt. And yet the gentleman's punishment has to only be heard about because the men of the church got a hold of him. The men of the church are handling that. The women's ministry is handling her. And so somewhere along the way, we're still doing what was done in the Bible. We're still taking the young lady and pulling her out for the adultery. And then we're still ready to stone her. And yet when she was being pulled out for adultery, there's no mention in that scripture anywhere of the man that she was committing adultery with. Right. I'm wondering if he was the ones that was about to pick up a stone and he had to go to.
Yeah, he was one of them for sure.
So, I'm just saying, because by the time what Jesus said is, well, I'm not mad at y'all. Y'all want to stone her, that's fine. Anybody without sin, go ahead and do it. I'll wait. Not one stone.
I'll wait.
Not one. Not even a dude who was right there with her doing it. I'm sure he was in the crowd. But yet she got to walk away. And what Jesus said to her, excuse me, was sin no more. He didn't say she had sinned. He didn't call her out for her sin, and he didn't parade her through the streets and said she, I don't know if anybody watched Game of Thrones, but she didn't have to walk around like Cersei. The point was is that she had to just go and sin no more. We will take somebody's sin. She cheated, he cheated, they lied, she got pregnant, whatever the sin is, and they will ride that to their grave.
Yeah.
We will be standing at their funeral and say, you know what, it's a shame what happened to little old Pauline. I know, it was something else. She wasn't quite right after, he cheated on her like he did, That's all you remember about Pauline? You don't remember nothing else?
Yeah.
Because you wear your sin like it's a badge of honor.
Right.
And yet when I get there, well, God asked me, well, why you was letting them do that to her and covertly bully her in that church house while they was gossiping about her, talking about her, criticizing her, manipulating her, and using her. Did you ever go over to her and tell her that you love her too? Because at the end of the day, when I get there, he gonna ask me about my character, what I did, and we keep moving in a unit as a church. And we're not unified in love. We're unified in usage. We're unified in pain. And so a lot of people walk around church hurt. I don't necessarily believe that everybody's atheist. I believe people are tired of being church hurt. And so they choose other things.
Yeah.
You made a choice to do anything that didn't have anything to do with God because of God's people.
Yeah.
And we hold God as a reverence of what our people do. And if that's the case, then would you not hold America the same way by what its people do?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. I want to add, I have met other women that have experienced the same thing when they got pregnant. They, were basically put out of the church.
Yeah.
I had the same experience. And my evidence is right here. And, men, their dad, I have him and a daughter, and me and their dad, I ended up getting pregnant. And so we were both heavily involved in different things in the church. We were ushers, we were singing in a choir. We were, in the, at that time, youth group. And so because we were involved in so many things, the pastor told us, when we went to him and told him, I was pregnant, he told us, well, either y'all gonna have to get married or y'all gonna have to step down from all your functions.
Right.
Well, we really enjoyed what we were doing, and I was teaching too, kids, Sunday school. And so we didn't want to not do that, but we had already talked about getting married before I got pregnant.
Right.
And so it just happened the way it did. And then we chose to get married earlier than we had planned. We didn't have a date, but we just said after I turned 18, which was in December, I got pregnant in September, started college in August, got pregnant in September. Right. And so because I'm pregnant here, we're not going to wait until I'm 18.
Right.
We're going to go ahead and get married. But we still ended up waiting. I turned 18 in December. He proposed to me on my birthday. And then we got married in January. So, but we still pushed it, closer than we wanted. I didn't say right after 18. I just said, let me be 18 first.
Yeah.
And he was already 18.
Right.
So the thing is, that it was very hurtful, that we had to make a choice like that.
Yeah.
And it was more hurtful. That part didn't hurt me as much as it did the 3 years that we were married, the things that we experienced.
Right.
Because we were not together most of that time.
And I think that's the thing. And first off, let me say that I'm sorry that happened to you. I understand that because it happened to me as well.
Yeah.
We were told that this is what you do. You get somebody pregnant, you get married, but we weren't told how to be married.
Yeah.
We were told to get married and raise these kids.
Yeah.
And we weren't told how to be married. So we weren't taught. We were 19, right? We were just, I had already had a daughter. I was 18 when I had my daughter. So I was at the point where I was raising her on my own. I didn't want no more children. I love all of my kids, but I didn't want any more. And I surely wasn't trying to be married, but it was the way that we were told. And so I felt honestly, after years of sitting back, I felt bullied into it. I didn't even know how to love you or that I could love you. But here I am. I now need to be married to you to fit the mold of not shaming my family church.
Yeah.
So what we've also done is we've also bullied people into getting married, and then we bully these women for wanting to get out of marriages. I mean, divorce is just as shameful as adultery. You know, divorce is treated the same way. How dare you leave your husband? Did you try everything?
Yeah.
Did you try counseling? Did y'all try this? Did y'all try that? And then when you say, well, yes, I did. Well, you must have just let the devil have your marriage. Did I? Lord, here's the problem. You never told us how to be married, so the devil had it from the gate.
Yeah.
I didn't know how. And so, and then when it says in the Bible, one of the things that's actually in there is that the older women are supposed to teach the younger women.
I thought about in
so
Titus.
Do I get to now say, because my marriage failed, do I get to go to the old women and say, man, you shortchanged me. Now I'm getting divorced. It's your fault.
Right.
Because you were supposed to teach me. I didn't know, you know. And so what were you supposed to teach me? How was I supposed to be down to read if all I had was a TV show?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you never saw on the TV show how they interacted. What you saw was him come home. The boys came down. They little friend, Eddie Haskell, they played or what have you. All you ever saw her was in the kitchen, or she was bringing Ward to drink, or she was bringing Ward his food. So you're teaching me how to be a Stedford wife and not to be a wife.
Yeah.
I don't know how. And then I'm upset because this man doesn't know how to teach me to be a woman. And this man is being thrown in his teens, so he doesn't know how to be a man. And then we're supposed to be successfully raising adults. I got to raise this child from 0 to adulthood.
Yeah.
If I do it wrong, I'm blamed for that. So at what point do I stop being bullied into living?
Yeah.
While I'm walking around dead.
Yeah. Wow. You said a word. Oh, wait. So, Mark, go ahead, Gene.
I was going to say that the forcing, you know, obviously it goes both ways because, you know, I experienced that as well, unfortunately. Being bullied into getting married before we were ready for that. Mm-hmm. Now, 18 years, well, a little more now, but 18 years of marriage dissolved into a whole, you know, manipulation, narcissistic situation. I'm not going to give all the details too, but that's what happens when you force people to do something they're not ready for.
Exactly.
And they weren't given the tools to have a successful marriage. You just tell them to get married because that's what looks good. Mm-hmm. About what is good, and that's the problem. We're about image.
And it is about image, you know, specifically with preachers. And Gene, you know why I'm saying that, you know, with preachers, because, you know, they want to keep up an image, you know, and they, you know, if you get married, then I won't look bad. You know, it's about me and how you're making me look.
Right.
You know,
well, because, and it gets used against us a lot, that scripture where it says it's better to marry than burn.
Yeah.
Well, what if my marriage was burning me?
Right.
I mean, really, that's what I'm saying. What if that person is what's burning me? And I mean, that's what I'm saying. What if that marriage is what's burning us? We were promoting so many things when we were kids. I remember watching the Cosbys and the you know, the Partridge Family, the Brady Bunches, all of those. And I remember seeing those and being like, that's what we're supposed to look like. But I didn't. And somehow we were faulted for not looking that way. Or we had to keep up with the Joneses. I heard that my whole life. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. And it would be the church folks sitting around. We all having dinner tonight. Well, you know, you saw Pauline there. You know, they trying to keep up with the Joneses, girl. Yeah. What's wrong with Miss Pauline? And what's she trying to keep up with? Who the Joneses?
Yeah.
Who are they? Who is this perfect model that we have somewhere? And yet we don't remember that it is a lot of my stuff that makes me a better somebody. But then you don't teach people how to deal with anything, not their hurts, not their traumas. And then you get these relationships where you're trauma bonded to somebody. And now I think that's love. And then when I get out of that relationship, I'm so confused on whether it was love, a trauma bond, abuse, neglect. And so because I can't figure it out, I am now already on guard for the next person. The next person is going to pay for the last person and pay for the last. And so I have a cycle. And then they say, well, I don't know why these women is out here and they single. Well, ask them when it wasn't. What happened?
Yeah.
And the same thing with men. It's like it's not okay for a man to be single either. And then when a woman or a man says, I'm just working on me. Well, ain't that much work in the world, girl. You finna be. I'm finna be. What I'm finna be. I chose to, go out to eat and by myself, or because I chose to see what I like. I don't want to be Julia Roberts trying to figure out what kind of eggs I like because I had to run away from you all. Come on.
Yeah.
You should know. I think you should be healed and the other person should be healed, or at least I should be working on my healing and you should be working on your healing.
Right.
We can come together and heal together.
Hello.
But I don't want to help you hurt together while I'm trying to heal. And I don't want to help you heal while I'm trying to hurt. That don't make sense. Yeah. Because my healing is I'm a bleed over. I'm a bleed onto you.
Yes.
And when I'm bleeding onto you, it ain't the blood of the Lord. It's I'm bleeding onto you. And now I have made you either a victim or my savior. And either way it goes, I stopped knowing who you were and you became my whole world. And then when you take it, I'm just as lost as I was when you found me. So now I'm in more darkness, more into the sunken place, more into depression, and fighting my way up from somewhere. And then when I get up, I get to the top and I think I'm doing great. You knock me back down because you have that power over me.
That's horrible. I have a relative that, in a relationship that, he is in. And at the beginning of the relationship, he experienced so much hurt and pain and accusations and insecurity and, all these things, from the female. And he finally said to her one day, listen, you're not going to make me keep paying for what those other dudes did before me. I am not them, and eventually the relationship changed, and she said to me, I finally see, and I said, I'm glad you do, because he's not that, but we don't always, we're not always able to even identify what we're experiencing. We're not able to identify the fact that, you are giving me, carrying this baggage, and now you just dump the all that's in the baggage on me, and I had nothing to do with what what you experienced, and you should have dealt with that before you got to me. But since you didn't, start dealing with it now, and stop putting it on me.
And I think that's a big, huge thing that took a lot to say, but it also, for males and females going into relationships, what we don't realize is that sometimes the first man that ever hurt me was the man that gave me life. So sometimes the first man that ever hurt me was my father, and you're paying all the way back. You owe down like Pookie because of somebody that was in the beginning, or the uncle that was, or the man that was, or the friend that was. And then for some men, the first person that hurt you was your mother.
Yeah.
And so we forget that part. We forget to say, I have when I talk to somebody, I used to feel very proud and say, well, I didn't cheat on you, so you should be real thankful about that, and because at one point that was my MO. And so what I started making them feel like, well, you should be honored. I've never cheated on you. The problem is that it was an honor for me because it let me know how much that person meant to me, but probably to that person it sounded real messed up.
Yeah.
Right. But they didn't understand that the reason why I had to say that is because I'm from a generation where that's okay.
Yeah.
It was normal. Grandpa got 2-3 sets of family. Yeah, that's normal. So cheating was regulated as normalcy. And so for me, whether it's a badge to other people, it is a badge to me that I have been faithful. It is a badge to me because I broke a generational curse to do that. But if I don't explain that to you, you take that as I'm being condescending, or you ought to be honored because I ain't out here tossing it. It's not that. It's that for generations, It was an allowance.
Yeah.
That was a badge of honor. My uncle has 26 children. They not all by the same woman.
Yeah.
It was an
Right.
honor. It was a badge. It was, a body count wasn't a bad thing, whether you were male or female in my family. It was normal.
Yeah.
The fact that I stayed faithful was the problem. I got ridiculed more by my family for being faithful than anybody.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you really out here, you done let this, you just gonna be a sucker out here in these streets. That's what you're doing. No, I just really don't feel the desire to do that. But you say you a sucker out here. You just out here just, man, what happened to you? I thought one person.
Faithful was right.
Yeah. I thought maybe just I'm gonna try with this one person. I got ridiculed and literally, torn down by family members when I was being faithful. And so to scream it to my partner and say, I am being faithful to you in an argument, like, dude, you have no idea what I'm taking to be faithful to you, because it wasn't just faithful in the relationship. It was faithfully claiming you, faithfully standing in the streets for you, faithfully standing in front of God, in front of man and saying, I'm it, you're it. And sometimes people don't understand, because if you don't know my been through, you wouldn't know how much that mattered.
Yeah.
But because of your been through, right, you're going to take that as an offense. And because we don't deal with those things, now I'm dogging you. Now I'm treating you wrong, because here's the thing. No one is talking about how you filter the issues. Are you filtering what I said to you through your pain that sounded like, that could have been, that might have been, and then it's me saying it?
Yeah.
Or are you filtering it through a clean slate that allows you to hear me? And so what we don't do is we don't teach people how to filter. So if all I hear, I only hear you through my pain, then you will always be wrong.
Yeah.
You will always be wrong, because I can find a way to make you that way.
I just want to let y'all know that y'all can keep this conversation going. It was a lively discussion, and I was enjoying it, and all along those lines. So I was just going to pop in and let y'all know that just keep the conversation going as long as you want to. Because one of the things that I put in the chat and everything was, and I'd love to hear Evie's thoughts about this, but I don't think that they necessarily teach parenthood or sexuality the way that they used to, and they should, in our school systems and all along those lines. Because I remember that there used to be courses that you would have both the men and the women. They would learn with those baby dolls and all along those lines. And I'm not sure that they still have those courses. Like I said, I could ask my nephews, but I don't know if they do or they don't. But they probably should have them if they don't, because a lot of people don't have any knowledge of even how to take care of young ones. They think taking care of a dog or a cat is taking care of a young one, and it's a whole different identity. And
Yes. Absolutely. They actually do not have that in school anymore. They don't even have what they used to call it.
The
sexual
productive.
What was the school with the class where we would learn to cook?
Home economics.
Home ec. They don't have home ec anymore. They have international.
That in school I was in school.
Yeah, they have international foods now, where you just learn about other cultures' food. As far as sex ed and all of that, we don't. I had to carry around the 5-pound bag of flour. I did that, but they don't have to do that anymore. And my children are school age. I have two that one just finished college, the other one just finished up, and then I have one that is a senior in high school, and I have an 8th grader. And a lot of the things that I prepared you for, they do not prepare them for anymore. I teach my boys how to make sure they can check their oil and all that stuff in their car. I also teach my girls how to check that stuff too. My girls, they take out the trash just like my boys take out the trash. My boys know how to clean the kitchen just like my girls do. And it's not because I have anything to do with the sexes. That's not it. I want you to be able to get out my house.
Yeah.
Right? I need you. And I need you to be able to run your own house so that your house doesn't pour over into my house. And I also don't want somebody's daughter to come to me and tell me about my son. I also don't want somebody's son coming to tell me about my daughter. And I don't want my children to have to rely on a mate to make it.
Right.
That's what we don't teach. And so what has happened is now we have pronouns and she's and she's and thems and theys and all of that's fine. Okay. I have 7 brothers, 2 of which are in the community, all the alphabet. I get it. My point is that when we started requiring a label to define a person, we stopped seeing them as a person, period.
As a person.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to
There's
be
a
the
label.
label. So I need to label you. I used to have a job, my old job, we had to wear buttons that defined our pronouns. It was she's or hers, what. And it was only so that other people could be comfortable. But I've never needed to say, I'm Evie, Bolin, I'm her. And I've never had to do that. I showed up as me. It doesn't matter if I'm in a dress or I'm in a suit, I'm still Evie.
Right.
When we started having the requirement to label you first, I don't know if anybody understands the level of demeaningness that takes.
Mhm.
Because whether you're heterosexual or any other sexual, I don't know what happens in your bedroom because I wasn't invited. So why do I need to title it because you stand outside?
Right.
But Evie,
I'm gonna throw something
I want to go back to the church bullying, but no, isn't the church too busy trying to spend time in people's bedroom and try to make judgments on people's lives in their bedroom and all along those lines? And a lot of times they don't have any idea what that conversation is with God and everything along those lines.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing: I will patrol your heterosexual bedroom and tell you that the marriage bed can't be defiled until you bring an alphabet into it.
Well, not only that, but I mean, one of the things that is, I'm just going to be honest, and it's late in the evening here in Durham, North Carolina. I'm jumping in your conversation and everything, but there are certain things that men and women enjoy doing that is technically against the law, and in some cases against what some people might consider God's law, and all along those lines. But it's not stopping people from enjoying that, even though it might be technically illegal and everything. And you actually alluded to it earlier when you made that spitting joke and everything.
I'm just saying. And that's what I think is crazy to me, because there are levels to what is allowed, and yet we chastise people. I'm gonna just be blunt again. We chastise people who are polygamous. We chastise people that are in the alphabet community. We chastise people who will wear what they do in their bedroom outside.
Mm-hmm.
Because they said, well, forget it. If I'm, like on that movie for Color Girls, so you doing the bending, we gonna wear it outside. But the second that it's talked about outside, now it is a movement.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I never asked you how you was moving in the first place.
Right.
And so
Okay.
I have been to Pride. I go to Pride every year. I'm not going to say I don't. I go to Pride every year, but this last year was very disturbing because there was things happening at Pride that were publicly movement in the quote unquote movement. And yet it was absolutely horrendous, some of the things that were happening, because Pride is supposed to be about family and all these things being able to come out. And some of the outfits, some of the things were so skimpish or less than, or you could probably get a cup and have them in there. So my point was that we had so much that we were saying and we were pushing the agenda, and yet I had more clients, more people in my circle that were already in the alphabet movement that was like, I'm absolutely disgusted that this is how we're being represented. No different than Black people are absolutely disgusted that the only thing we can ever be is NBA players and twerkers. No different than Caucasian people have beliefs that they can only be Karens and they can only be somebody who's trying to get you with a chair. And yet the Indian people can only be people who, well, they stole it from us first. The point is that we have gotten so labeled up that it doesn't matter that you all still bleed red.
For all I know, Gene is a furry. For all I know, Gene could be a furry. But just really quickly, and I put that in the comment as well, and then I'll bounce out and let y'all close it out. But I also think that we get caught up too much in this notion of what TV has perceived as being wholesome. Because yes, I grew up on Prairie Home, the Prairie Home Companion. I grew up on definitely the Mayberry. Like I said, I mean, everybody knows Andy Griffin and all of that. But Andy Griffin was actually a single father. He was a single father. And Opie was raised by his grandmother.
Right.
So that was not necessarily the traditional family. And I don't think the Waltons were all that traditional and all along those lines. And definitely not the Brady Bunch, because wasn't the Brady Bunch basically, I tease my brother about it because he's involved with a young lady. He's got my two nephews, or his two kids, and the lady he's involved with has got two kids. So they did that whole Brady Bunch blended family, and that's what the Brady Bunch was. It was a blend. It was a blended family, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. We grew up seeing a difference, and then we grew up being told it had to be a difference in everything. It had to be a difference. We had to adapt to everything, but every movement brought us a different thing to adapt to. Every movement. You know, there was a time where you could not get on and see a TV show where there wasn't a powerful father. And then all of a sudden the father was demasculated. And then the father didn't have nothing to say. And then the father wasn't really a father. And then there was no father anymore. And we did that.
Before I disappear, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Gene and Stephanie and everything. How do you deal with the savior complex? Because that is something that I have been guilty of. I know other people have been guilty of it as well. So there's a lot of folks that are seeing people's issues, seeing things that they see wrong, and they want to try to rescue them or save them or whatever that was going on. I know that I've been guilty of it, and I know others that have been as well. So how do you deal with that in your own relationships?
Savior complex is really huge, especially in the field that I'm in. I have gotten to where people expect me to save them, and when I had to let my no's be no's and my yeses be yeses. I had years of savior complex. I had years of I'm the call. I labeled myself the call. It was honestly, it wasn't until my therapist, because I believe that people need to understand every therapist is in therapy. Promise. We have to be. But my therapist asked me, she said, when was the last time you turned off your phone? And I said, oh yeah. I said, that was September 3rd, 96. And she was like, nobody knows that. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, most people say Saturday, Tuesday. Did you just say September 3rd, 1996? I said, well, yeah. She said, Evie, why did you remember that? I said, because the next day I went into labor and I haven't turned my phone off since. And I haven't. I have always been the call. I will get out of bed to come help you, save you, what have you. But what ended up happening for me is when I finally learned that being the savior was actually me thinking I had a Jesus complex, and I wasn't willing to lay down my life for people. That was his job, not mine. And so when you start to get into that where you're waving and you're like, wait a minute now, I think I'm in his way again. I'm trying to help someone. So, no, girl, I got you. I'm on my way. I'm about to give you my last money. It's okay. And then I prayed for more money because I gave you mine. It became a cycle of, okay, well, Jesus, I'm going to give it to them. And you just figure out how to get it back to me. And so what we have to do is I will introduce you to the actual savior. And then I'll be an example of what it's like to be one of his kids. But I cannot be the savior, because the second that I get in his way, I am doing you an injustice on finding your way to him.
Yeah.
No doubt about that one. We'll turn it back over to you.
That was good. That was a good answer. One of the things that I used to tell Gene, and you know, and I know that I do it too. I didn't know it when I said it to him, but you know, we hate to see people hurting. And so we do things to, you know, help them more than we should be helping them, you know, like you just talked about. And so, you know, and for him, I was able to say, you know, Gene, you can't save everybody. But I wasn't able to see that, you know, for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
And our kids actually start
to say, right, exactly.
Right. What I did was I built generational saviors. So my kids began to be saviors. My 8th grader is coming home Phoenix. We're like, Mama, my friend's going through this, and this. And oh my God. And Mama, what would you say? And then she was being a therapist in 8th grade. My kid is being a therapist in 8th grade for her friends. My boys are being a therapist for their friends, my girls. And then I'm sitting here and I'm looking at my kids and like, Mama, oh my God, it's stressing me out. You should not, if that is what I gave you, let me fix it. Because you've watched me save so many people. I've let people live with me. I've went and got people. I went and fed people. And sometimes my intentions were right.
Yeah.
How you took them and misused them and misconstrued them and then used them against me time and time again. That's where it went wrong. But because of my intentions being right, I became a generational captain, a generational Superman. And then I'm walking around. I actually have a tattoo with Superman on my foot, but I walk around with this S on my chest and then I'm tired.
Yeah.
And I'm not having disease. I'm having dis-ease.
Yeah.
I'm covered in dis-ease. I'm having heart problems and blood pressure problems and all of them that are not about me. I have allowed me to be so torn back carrying you that when I realized that that's what happened, I'm too busy, I'm too low down, I'm too broken down. And now I can't even be what God called me to be because I am too busy being what you called on me to be.
Yeah. Wow. That's good stuff. Well, we are going to end the show. Jean, you have any last words you want to add? And then Evie, and then me, and then we'll end the
Now,
show.
this is an absolute blessing, and that savior piece is a major thing. Again, like I had to learn how to step back from people, and it's like, I can give you information, but I can't do it for you. Either you do it for yourself, or you're gonna be stuck in that hole.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a rope. I'll I'll put it on a rock tied up, and then I'm gonna send it down to you. You got to climb out though.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Evie?
I think that my favorite is Philippians 4:13, that I can do all things through their strength. At the same time, I think people forget about Romans 8:28. He said all things you can are for the good. And so I think when we misconstrue the Bible is we decide when it fits. The truth of the matter is that all things he's going to help you through, and then all things are for the good. So anything that was even bad is utilized for better. Yeah. And we don't remember that part. And so stop beating up on you long enough to see who you really are.
You got that, Jean?
Oh, yeah. I heard it.
So I want to say this has been a wonderful conversation. I love authenticity and to be able to, discuss things and to, admit and confess, our wrongs and where we see, that we've gone wrong. And, we know we're not able to help people when we're hurting and when we're, bogged down in our trauma and our pain. We know that we have to, go through healing on our own, choose healing, choose to be healed, choose to be, not experiencing this pain, this hurt, this trauma. Right. And as soon as we make the choice, confess, first of all, that it's a thing, and then choose to move forward in a different way, then, we're at the road. This is where you are. You want to keep going that way? Or do you want a different way? You don't know what's going to happen this way. But, when you get enough, you say enough is enough. And you just have to be patient and go through the process for whatever, the new thing is. So I just want to say that, Evie, we thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me.
We are so blessed to have you, and we are very grateful. We are going to say bye for now. If stay for the video. If you are here, stay for the video. Jean created a video, his first video, and so Jean, quickly tell why you did that video, and then we can close out. And Evie, so you'll be able to hear why he did the video.
Okay, awesome.
So the song itself is called Won't Let You Take It From Me. It's about going through a chaotic life, chaotic relationship, losing myself, and then realizing that, hey, man, I'm losing me in the process of trying to save other people. So I pulled myself back and began to find happiness for myself. And once I started finding that peace of mind, I absolutely refused to allow anyone, even myself, to take that peace of mind away from me. Let you take it.
Awesome.
All right, so we send you away. We'll see you next Sunday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time right here, wherever you're watching us from. We send you away with peace. Peace, peace, peace. Send you away with love.
Love.
Take care. Be joyful. Be happy. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye for now.
That place had become a common thing. But I have the faith to move a mountain. As you'll see, won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Had my fair share of dark clouds, catastrophes and self-doubts, but I kept my head when I couldn't see how. My strength of will make me proud. Everything falls into place. Gotta take the risk, can't play it safe. Gotta have the faith to move a mountain. Then you'll be free. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. This piece of mind was hard for that I had. Strong resolve at all costs. Had to stop holding on, cutting my loss through the struggle, baby, cause to be the boss no more. Struggle, just clear sky. Decided to take control of my life. Now I'm not afraid to reach for those heights. Ain't no glass ceilings in sight. Take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. No, 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 no. Won't let you take it from me. 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 Won't let you take, won't let you take it from me. Won't let you take, won't let you take it from me. Won't let you take, won't let you take it from me. Won't let you take.